So I'm super excited to have Kylie, who's a friend and a fellow YouTuber, a homeschool mom, and a realtor. And we've been talking a lot about this since coronavirus. Like, what's everybody doing? Everyone's losing their mind. And we just wanted to share our conversation with you, basically. So I'm going to let Kylie introduce herself a little bit more because she has an education background that I think would help in this conversation for you guys to understand where she's coming from with that background.
Yeah, so I have been homeschooling for the last 4 years. Before that, my undergrad is in elementary education. My master's is in literacy. I was a kindergarten teacher for 5 years, and then before that, I was a reading teacher for a year. So I've been in the public school system, and now I'm doing it from home.
See a little bit of background, and you're in the trenches also.
Yes, yes.
So one of the first things that we started talking about is everybody has different feelings. And one of our thoughts was just give yourself permission to do it however works for you. Like, it doesn't have to be a certain way. And I know Kylie has thoughts on that.
Yeah. So if you want to make school at home where you have a strict schedule and your kids are doing things at certain times, that's great. But if not, it's totally okay not to do it that way and to kind of just go with the flow and feel it all out, because this is new for a lot of you and a lot of us, and we're all in it together, and it's okay. You don't have to, school doesn't have to be the way it is at school at home. It's totally different.
But so with that, I'm scared. Like, so many parents are scared. Like, okay, so my kid's going to lose everything that they learned this whole year, how they talk about summer, like you lose what you learn and then you go back and you don't have it. Is that true with your background, or are we going to really screw up our kids with that?
Well, so there's two things. I'm gonna talk on something I heard this morning, and I'm gonna tell you how I feel about that statement. Like, of course, the kids are gonna lose something because of the way that we teach in the public school system. We teach kids to memorize information and then to tell it back to us. So in that sense, yes, they're gonna lose some stuff, like some academic things, facts. But the information will be repeated at the beginning of the school year. I mean, most of the kids have already gone through 80% of what they were going to learn this year anyway. So even if the kids were done for the rest of the year, the teachers in September or August are going to do exactly what they did every year before this ever happened. They're just going to review and they're going to move on. Like, that's what's going to happen. And then the other thing I was going to say is, I saw this morning, I was listening to Gary Vee, and he said something about what's happening right now is, think about it in the bigger picture. Like, it's a tiny little blurb of our lives. So if we can think about that with our kids and their education, like, this really is just a tiny little blurb in their educational life, and they're going to get through it and we're going to move on. And it's just going to be a little thing we talked about 10 years from now.
Hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, I think it will be a blip. It will be a blip, even though it feels like everything right now.
Yeah.
So do you follow a schedule, and how important is it? Like, does it really matter how strict we are with the schedule?
So I do love schedules. I'm a schedule person. However, the flip side of that is, sometimes we get down on ourselves if we don't stick to that schedule. So we try and use a schedule as our guide for the day. Like, if it doesn't go according to plans, it's okay, right? Like, you set it up like it's going to be that way. And if it doesn't, don't beat yourself up about it. But yes, everybody could use a schedule, a loose schedule, I guess.
So guide is like really the word. And I know, like, the kids follow a rhythm and our body follow a rhythm. So it's good to have a schedule, but don't be down on yourself if it's not perfect.
Yes.
Because you're not a teacher,
That's right.
Okay. So, and when you're homeschooling, some people are like, well, homeschoolers are used to this. They're not even skipping a beat. Like, they can't relate to us. And you had mentioned to me, wait a minute, like, my schedule is messed up. So how are you just like going with the flow?
Yeah. I mean, everybody is getting impacted by this. As homeschooling families, we do it because of the freedom that we get. Like, we can do schoolwork and then leave and go do something, or go to a museum, or go to a park, or meet with friends. And and do whatever we want. And right now we can't do that. So we're all stuck in the house too, and trying to like scramble through how we're going to shift into this new homeschooling that we have to do too, because it's different.
And you had mentioned that, well, like if they get a little bit extra screen time, I'm not going to beat myself up about that, because of like in the big picture of this, we need everybody to be sane and healthy. And if that's what it takes, like, is that what your take on it?
Yep, that's absolutely true. And not only that, the kids are gonna, so they're gonna get extra screen time because like we're having a Zoom call. Like our kids, if they can get on their phones and talk to their friends, they're socializing. So like in addition to giving them the opportunity to sit and watch TV or Google something on the internet, like we're also giving them time to talk to their friends. So I feel like it's automatically going to increase our screen time too, just because we still want to give them that opportunity, but we want them to talk to their friends too.
I mean, I feel like that's helped me a lot. I don't know if it's helped you just to be like on a calls with other people going through the same thing. Like it has to be the same for them, right? Like,
yeah, definitely. And it's cool because a lot of the teachers are setting up stuff like this, like Zoom calls. Like my girls take choir and they take dance, and they can't do either of those. And piano. Luca's piano teacher did a Zoom, well, he did Skype, but he did a Skype call with her on Monday for piano. They're going to do choir this afternoon, and then they're going to do dance tomorrow. And it's just going to be on the computer, and they're going to be together. So we need this technology right now.
Okay, so let's talk about expectations and how it can make us fail, or we can set it up to like have a good experience, even if it's not a perfect experience.
Yeah. I think that I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, what should I do for my kids? Like, what website should I put them on? What should I do? How should I do this? Like, if your kids are homeschooled right now because they have to be, because they were in the public school system, now they're not, I would wait to see what the school systems are doing, what they're putting in place for the kids, because a lot of them I've seen are getting on and doing things like this, Zoom calls, are sending websites to links of things that they've already researched. I just talked to a friend yesterday, and we were talking about giving a list of resourceful websites, but I was saying how that's just overwhelming. You can't give someone a list of 25 websites and be like, oh, here, check these out. Like instead, Google something, whatever the kids are interested in, and find things based on that. Like Google whatever. My kids have been into leopard geckos. So she Googles leopard geckos and all this stuff comes up and she just clicks, and of course you want to monitor what they're clicking on because we don't know for sure, but I think that's a better route to go. Like talk to them about what they're interested in right now and then go from there with the researching.
And if they're old enough, I know that you mentioned to me, like, let them do the research themselves about what activity they're going to do or what they want to do, instead of us doing all the work and putting more on our plates. Like,
Yep. They can definitely come up, and frankly, they're more creative than we are. Like my kids saw potatoes in my kitchen, and yesterday they asked if they could like decorate a potato, and I'm like, I guess. And they come out with these beautiful paintings on these potato faces, and they use their makeup. Like, I couldn't have come up with that idea. And you were saying that about your kids and the relay race that they made outside. Like, I really thought you did that, and you didn't.
No, I didn't even prompt them to do it. We were just outside. They're like, can we do that? I'm like, sure. Like, take the brooms, take the bikes, whatever. It's amazing what they can come up with. And they're learning. I mean, you're the education person. I'm just I have no background in that. So who am I? But I feel like they're learning a whole lot, not just life lessons, but really like math things and distance and how to put things together. That is learning.
Yep. And I'm trying to think of who did it. I can't remember her name, but it's someone in the homeschooling background. And she will teach you how to like break down an activity that the kids have done and put every single subject in it. Like she can come up with an example from every single subject that the kids take in school from any activity that they come up with on their own. So if you really sat down and thought about it, you could think of a social studies something, a science something, all that stuff. and it would be in the one thing they just did. And it's,
And what were you saying just about like even like a kid in a bucket with bath water? Like
yeah, yeah,
what
like
were you saying about that?
you could make it into, like, they were sitting in their backyard in a bucket with sudsy water, and the mom was like, oh, look at how good our homeschool day is going. And I was like, it actually looks awesome. Like, that could be an experiment of water displacement. You've got a 10-year-old and you've got a 4-year-old. You could put them in the bucket at separate times and have them measure the distance, and that's volume. I mean, it's science, you know? So everything, we just have to think differently about what the kids are doing, you know? We have to
I don't think people should freak out about that either. Like, I don't think you need to know the terms, right? Water,
right, sure.
like they are getting the idea of how it works.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have the lesson planned out, right?
Yep. Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
And so for the younger kids, if they're not able to search, what's your recommendations for, like, I have a 4-year-old.
I mean, I would just let them play, honestly. Like, I'm a huge advocate of reading and playing and being creative and just thinking on your own. Like, give her some paper and all her writing supplies or arts and crafty stuff, and just let her sit there and do it. Or set out a bunch of books and let her look at the pictures in the books, and she can make up little stories to tell you if she can't read the words. Like, what is the picture telling you? It's a story, you know? Each page in a kid's book can be turned into a story from themselves.
So you're telling me, like, I don't have to entertain her all day. She can entertain herself.
You know, let me take that back. With all of our kids, when they were in school, if your child was in school up until last week or whatever, it's going to be chaotic. They're used to going to school and being told what to do for 7-8 hours a day. So for them to come home and now have all this freedom and time, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be mom. But if you just let them just say no, figure it out, be bored. You tell a kid to go to their room and be bored for a half hour and then go check on them, and they've got crazy stuff going on in there. Like, they'll figure it out. We just have to let them.
I can get down with that.
Yeah.
One more point about reading, because I know you had mentioned this before, and I think you have a video all about, like, the importance of reading aloud as a family, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll link that in here somewhere.
Yep.
That video about reading aloud. Can you just give them the snippet of, like, why it's important and how, like, it is beneficial? It's not just.
Well, I think it's important for parents, like, when our kids can start reading, we're always like, oh yeah, cool, go read yourself, like, read independently. But if you're reading out loud to a kid that's, let's say they're a 3rd grader or a 5th grader, their independent reading level is only going to go so far for them. So their fluency and everything the information that's in those texts, they can only read so much. So if you're reading above their level, they're hearing information, they're getting a storyline that's more developed than what they're able to read to themselves. They're hearing vocabulary words that are bigger and things that they wouldn't be able to pronounce. And then if you're reading to them and there is a big word, define it while you're reading it. Stop and just say what it is. Like, if I'm reading and it's like, I can't give an example, but I'll say the definition and then carry on. So it's like they're hearing new stuff that they wouldn't be able to read to themselves. And it's so important. And read to your high school kids too. Like, sit around the table together and read a book to them.
Even if it's like jokes.
Yeah, anything.
So that I could see doing that.
Yep.
So if we're feeling like we're failing this, like we are going to just royally screw up all of the kids, what would your advice be?
I would say take a deep breath and read to your kids. Just take that time and read. If you do one thing all day, sit down with them and read for 30 minutes. Just pick something, anything. You know what else I think is important? Even maybe talking about the current events, what's going on, not scary, not like freak everybody out scary, but like, hey, this is what's going on in the world. Let's maybe even read an article or look at the stats right now. And then just think of some things like positive solutions, or like, hey, what can we do as a family to help this bigger situation? How can we reach out to people and let them know that we care? Like, if we're teaching our kids about the current events, that's going to be history next week. You know, I mean, they're learning something then, and they're listening to you read something. I mean, don't scare them, but it is happening, you
And
know?
your kids do videos with you sometimes too. Like
Yeah.
they
Yep.
partake in what you're doing. Like let them have a, maybe you don't want them surfing the web, but maybe you give them a camera and say, here, put together a project or put together
Yep.
a video and see if they can learn how to edit.
Yep.
I think I told my son I know I told him I would pay him $3 if he could edit my videos. And he's like,
Yes.
you mean every video? He's like doing the math in his head. Like if I do every one, how many videos do you do?
And
Oh,
see, that was math. He just multiplied, added, subtracted. He did it all. So
that was math.
yep.
So Kylie and I talk quite a bit, and we're trying to remember one of the other things that we had talked about being really important during this time is really knowing what you need to do. Like if you're a work from home or you're stay at home, whatever it is, like you're going to take a bigger toll on your brain and your heart right now because of what's going on. But what is it exactly that you need to do, and what gets you the biggest results in your family and your business and whatever you're doing? Relationship, right?
Well, yes, and you need to link that 80-20 into yours, because that I think is going to be the biggest problem that everybody has is we're so used to all work expands to fill the time allowed. Like our kids were given 8 hours to complete their school day. You were given 8 hours to complete your work day. Now everybody's at home and you're like, shoot, I don't have 16 hours to do 8 hours of schoolwork and 8 hours of my work. So now what? But this is where we take the time and we're like, okay, what's the 20% that gets 80% of the results? And that's the same with kids in their schoolwork. Same thing.
That's a real law too. That's like a proven thing. The 20% gets. So I will put the video down. It walks you through like how to know what that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, like, I messed it all up. All we're doing basically is we're reading and we're playing and, a couple assignments. If I got them in, I got them in. Great. What do you think, like, with an education background, how is that going to put our kids in the long run?
Like I said at the beginning, I think that they're going to be 100% okay. And I think that this is a perfect opportunity for them to work on those things that are like really important as like a human being to know how to do, like the being bored and figuring out how to do something, or to take action on something that you had in your brain that you wanted to do, or to know the important things, to know what's important and how to get from A to B, like your work schedule. Like those life skills are going to help them start off next year better. Like if they're prepared emotionally and mentally for what we all just went through, the teachers are going to pick right back up where they left off, and they know what they're doing, and your kids will just hop back into it. I thought about it, like, think about a song that you remember from 1985. Like, all the lyrics, but you weren't singing it yesterday. It's like that kind of stuff. Those are the things that are going to be embedded in us that we need to just remember. The facts and things like that, the teachers are going to teach us. Like the stuff that's important. You remembered it, like that song from the 80s. You remember all the lyrics,
That's a huge point. And what else did you say about teachers are learning this too?
Yes, so, it's brand new to them. Brand new. They have they're all like, I don't know what to. I just had a friend call me yesterday and ask me how to set up a YouTube channel because she wants to compile, videos that she would show her students at school, like the A sound and the B sound. And so she was trying to compile like playlists. So I walked her through starting a YouTube channel to compile all that stuff. I mean, they're learning it too.
Technology is crazy amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I have a question for you. What are you doing to stay sane through all this for yourself? Like to help you just like.
Well, my girl, we just actually started, I'm loosening up on what they need to know academically right now today for me, because my brain can only handle so much. So right now we're heavy on reading aloud. They're journaling what's happening right now. So each day they write what's going on, because that's a primary source. When kids are learning history, a primary source is a journal, like Anne Frank's journal. So in 20 years from now, who's to say my kid's journal won't be a primary source for the coronavirus outbreak? So yeah. We're journaling, and we're working on mindset. We're breathing, we're relaxing our brains. We're trying to think before we act. And just that, we're just focusing on being present right now today.
This is a lot, even though, you know, it might not feel like it, but all the little things add up, and it's a
Yeah.
lot if we're not taking care of ourselves. And like moms, like if we're not good, you know,
Yeah.
the whole family's not
Oh,
good. So
it's so true. For real. We know that. We know that for sure. For sure.
yeah. Okay, so you were thinking about doing a daily
Yes.
video on like what you're doing for the day. Is that something you're going to do still, or are you thinking about it?
Yes. No, this week, so I post once a week. They end up usually being on Saturday. And I am going to just kind of focus on each day what the plan is for the day. So it's not going to be anything super brilliant and awesome. It's just going to wake up and tell you guys like, hey, here's how we're taking today and here's what we're going to do, and kind of just walk you through a schedule that we are following.
I think that would be super valuable.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kylie. I know we have crazy schedules right now.
I know.
So I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and sharing. And
Yes.
we're going to link Kylie's channel below, all the videos we mentioned, and check her out, because what is your next video?
Well, I was gonna do, oh God, my next video is going to be schedules. It's going to be based on schedules and like how to follow them and how to give yourself some grace and just.
And she has curriculum videos and everything that you can probably pull from if you need help, but definitely check out like the day-to-day, because I think it'll just calm us all down.
Yeah, definitely.
I hear my daughter knocking on the door right now.
All right. Well, then we finished up just in time.
Yeah. See ya.
Bye.